Denver, Colorado, 1978. Children and parents are gathered for a Little League baseball game. Finney Blake is the pitcher, and his sister Gwen chews him out. Finney manages to throw 2 balls that score strikes, but on the third, another player, Bruce Yamada, hits the ball and scores a home run that gives his team the win. Despite the loss, Bruce praises Finney for his arm. Later, Bruce is seen riding his bike around town, greeting some girls from school. Then a black van pulls up in front of Bruce, and he stops. Finney and Gwen live with their father, a violent alcoholic who is still mourning the loss of his wife and the children's mother, who committed suicide. As the siblings make their way to school, they see a group of kids gathered because the school bully, Moose, is bullying another kid named Robin Arellano. To everyone's surprise, Robin is a skilled fighter and dominates Moose by beating his face into a bloody pulp. Finney and Gwen move on, with Gwen mentioning a local kidnapper known only as the Grabber, since they learned that Bruce has disappeared. At school, Finney is harassed by 3 boys who follow him to the bathroom and call him names. Robin joins them and threatens the bullies if they mess with Finney. Robin also encourages Finney to stand up for himself. Meanwhile, 2 detectives come to the school and talk to Gwen in the principal's office. Gwen claims that she has been having dreams related to the missing children who were taken by the Grabber, but she cannot explain the meaning of these dreams. The next day, Finney wakes up to find his father beating Gwen because the police have been visiting him and asking questions about Gwen's dreams and the connection between them and Bruce's disappearance. Gwen breaks her father's liquor bottle, whereupon he beats her even harder. He orders Gwen to say that her dreams are not real because her mother had similar dreams, which she thought were premonitions. Later, Robin rides his bike around the neighborhood. He then turns a corner and finds the Grabber waiting for him with black balloons. The parents in the neighborhood are informed of Robin's disappearance. The bullies at school then go after Finney and start beating him, but Gwen defends him by hitting one of the bullies on the head with a rock, causing him to bleed profusely. Gwen gets kicked in the face, and the other 2 bullies continue to beat up Finney. Later in class, Finney is paired with his crush Donna as a science partner. She offers her sympathy for Finney getting beat up. Finney breaks up with Gwen as they walk home, and he encounters the Grabber's van. He pretends to be a normal man spilling his groceries, but once Finney sees the black balloons, the Grabber attacks Finney and sprays his mouth with a chemical to render him unconscious before throwing him into the van. Gwen and other kids from the school soon learn that Finney has disappeared. The Grabber takes Finney to his basement and holds him captive there. There is only one window, but no one can hear him when he screams. The Grabber taunts Finney, but assures him that he is special. There is a black phone on the wall that is turned off, which the Grabber claims has rung before. Later, the phone rings again, and Finney answers it. He hears the voice of Bruce, who notices Finney's arm in the baseball game and calls it good as new. Bruce, however, does not remember his own name or what he did when he was alive. Bruce gives Finney a clue to a spot in the ground where he can move a tile and start digging. Finney spends his time digging and flushing the dirt down the toilet. Gwen has a dream in which she sees a flashback to Bruce's childhood life and his developing interest in baseball. Mr. Blake talks to Gwen and says that her mother talked about having dreams that were visions, just like Gwen's, and he believes this drove her to suicide, so he wants to prevent Gwen from going down the same path. The Grabber brings Finney eggs and a Sprite and assures him that the food is clean. He also leaves the door unlocked, but as Finney walks toward it, he hears the phone ring again and the voice of a paperboy named Billy, who is doing his own research on the missing children. He informs the cops that he is staying with his brother for the time being. Meanwhile, Gwen tries to use whatever information she can glean from her dreams to find her brother. The Grabber asks Finney his name, but when he lies, He throws Finney a newspaper with the news of his disappearance. As he leaves, the phone rings again, and Finney is talking to a boy named Griffin. His ghost appears and hovers next to Finney, and Griffin tells him about a lock combination he had written down. This is part of a game the grabber likes to play with his victims called Naughty Boy. Finney finds the numbers, but Griffin cannot remember the exact combination. While the grabber sleeps, Finney sneaks up the stairs and tries every combination he can think of until he unlocks the door. Unfortunately, Samson, the grabber's dog, barks at the sound of the unlocking, which wakes up the grabber. Finney runs out of the house and just makes it down the street before the grabber catches him. The neighbors turn on the lights, but the grabber threatens to kill Finney on the spot if he makes a sound. He waits until the lights go out before taking Finney away again. Later, the phone rings again, but this time Finney hears the voice of a local punk named Vance Hopper. A flashback/dream shows Vance in an arcade where he got into a fight with two teenagers after one of them messed up his high score. Shortly thereafter, he was arrested. In the flashback, Gwen finds herself at Vance's side talking to Finney over the police radio, but Finney cannot hear Gwen addressing him. They end up at a house where Gwen tries to remember the number. Later, she rides her bike around the neighborhood to find the house and is spooked by the ghosts of the grabber's victims. Finney listens to Vance's advice and finds a room behind the wall that contains a freezer. Finney tries to push through the door with all his might, but to no avail. He begins to cry, fearing that he will die there. The phone rings one more time, and he answers it. It is Robin, and he remembers both Finney and his own life. He tells Finney that he has always been his friend, and that now is the time for him to stand up for himself. Robin tells Finney to practice using the phone as a weapon and to fill the receiver with dirt to make it heavier. Gwen contacts the detectives and goes with them to the address she saw in her dreams. Meanwhile, Max concludes that the missing children are in the house where he lives, because the grabber is his brother. He goes to the basement and is shocked to find Finney there. When Max goes to help him, the grabber kills him in the head with an axe. He goes after Finney, but the boy has enlisted all the help the ghost kids can give him. He puts a rug over the hole he dug and uses the cable to trip the grabber and make him fall into the hole, where he breaks his ankle after hitting the bars of the window. Finney then begins to berate the grabber with the phone, and it rings one last time. Finney forces the grabber to hear the voices of his victims taunting him about his demise, and Finney snaps his neck. He grabs a steak from the freezer and throws it to Samson to distract him. The detectives search the house but find it empty until an officer finds the basement. Instead of Finney, the officers find the bodies of the other 5 boys buried in the ground. The house where Finney was being held is across the street. He unlocks the door and walks out into the sun, where Gwen sees him and runs to her brother. The authorities take care of the children, and they are picked up by their father, who tearfully apologizes to them both for how he treated them. Finney returns to school with more confidence than before. The other kids think he's a legend for killing the grabber, and the bullies no longer dare tease him. He rejoins Donna in science class, but he tells her to call him Finn. I hope you enjoy this movie explain video. Don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon for the latest videos. Bye for now.